Hello indie game fans, on the last day of 2020, I thought that we should look ahead for the year to come in indie games, with 15 of the biggest titles that I'm looking forward to. Of course, there's some personal bias, being very me games, but we start off with a special mention going to Cyber Shadow releasing next month, which I've covered enough, so not much more to say other than I'm still looking forward to this. The 8-bit excellent Lords of Exile looks retro in all the right ways and can be described as a classic Vania title, similar to early entries in the franchise as compared to the later, more Metroidvania entries like Symphony of the Night with the RPG elements. This will look similar to Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, perhaps a little too similar, but it looks classically designed with the user interface, the interchangeable weapons and the overall feel of the game, exactly nailing what this developer is going for. I do love the boss designs and backgrounds shown off, so hopefully there will be a substantial amount of content, with the latest news being that it has been confirmed for March.
Alright, close your eyes. I want you to think of a flower. Look at its contours, its curves. Now I want you to imagine it changing.
The narrative time loop thriller 12 Minutes has impressed in early showings and is perhaps drifting towards not so indie given the celebrity voice cast just revealed this year. But I do think that time loop mechanics can be very clever in games, so it did get my attention. This was on my list last year, but due to understandable delays, will appear once again, but the endless horror of being in this loop and what you must do to resolve it seems like quite the compelling prospect.
Riftbreaker Ashley, please report. Begin field-based setup.
Good morning, Mr. Riggs.
Good morning, Ashley.
We should go out and explore the area.
Come on. The Riftbreaker is basically Diablo meets Factorial meets They Are Billions, and if you know anything about me, of course I'm in. Now only if it were to be in pixel art.
We should build up our base as quickly as possible.
Let's place it close to a carbonium deposit.
Just kidding, I do think that this looks fantastic as is, coming to us from Polish developer Axiom Studios, which made one of my favourite tower defense games in X-Morph Defense, and this title does have a similar look.
Attack.
We're ready for them.
Ashley, use the rift portal to jump to the mining base.
You play as a scientist commando hybrid and pilot an advanced mech suit, sent to establish a forward operating base on alien planets. There's exploration and combat, Factorial-style automation and base defense elements against absolute swarms of aliens, so yes, yes and yes.
This will be a tough fight.
Axiom Verge 2 comes in a little bit lower on the list, since for now, it has only been confirmed for Switch and not much details are available on the game, but since it is the sequel to one of the most beloved indie Metroidvanias, I am curious about this. Impressive look, which is very different from the 8-bit space station of the first, so I'm interested to see what this developer does with the game, so fingers crossed we get more information soon. A title which I've not mentioned recently is Builders of Egypt, which, as the title states, is a base building title in ancient Egypt, reminding me of the Sierra classic Referral, since that is one of my favourite games from my childhood. While that title is separately being remastered, Builders of Egypt does look like quite a faithful tribute, with jazzed up visuals of their own, but as a base building fan, I cannot say no. Another newish title that has not shown up recently is Black Book, a grimdark RPG based on Slavic myths. I find it very interesting to see an increasing number of games tap on this mythology instead of your usual Greek, Egyptian or Norse, and it probably has to do with the increasing prominence of Eastern European developers and the popularity of The Witcher 3, where this is a deck building RPG that looks creepy and well done. Play as a sorceress who lost her beloved under mysterious circumstances, seeking out the titular demonic artifact, which is said to be able to grant a wish if all 7 of the seals are uncovered. But if the tales from The Witcher are anything to go by, I suspect this will not end well. I've beaten the dead horse of Bushiden quite enough recently, but this ninja pixel art action platformer does look fantastic. We are fighting against a great resurrected evil and his cybergenetic army. I'm interested in the crowd control combat system and upgraded abilities, since the game is structured into 7 levels where you're able to revisit and unlock new areas, so not exactly a Metroidvania, but it does share some common elements. If you're at all like me and have a fondness for retro titles, be sure to wishlist this right now. I do love Metal Slug, spending way too much money on it in arcades, since it combines awesome chaotic action with some beautiful sprites, and as always, indie games carry on that legacy into a new age with Mighty Goose. The vehicle sections and weapon variety in particular remind me of Metal Slug, where I'm just waiting to hear that familiar call of heavy machine gun. But awesome pixel art, great action and pure chaos is the name of the game, so of course it gets on the list. I guess Factorial really did trigger or activate a part of my brain that's just demanding more and more, so Dream Engine's Nomad Cities is of interest. Similar to the Riftbreaker above, this combines only 2 out of the 3 elements, the factory building automation and They Are Billions style base defense, but it does let you build a flying city which looks super cool. Very novel idea, and I do like the steampunk crossed with magic vibe, so very curious about this as well. The awesomely cute garden story needs no further introduction as well, since I do love my farming and life sim titles, and it looks to be the highlight in the space for 2021. You play as a village guardian who has to stop the rot, fighting off these creatures while tending to and restoring the gardens on the island, and looks absolutely pleasant, so I cannot wait. We kick off the top 5 with a long delayed title, Flynn, Son of Crimson. This is an action platformer game which I've had my eye on for many years, but the latest update from the developers is that this is content complete, so all that's left is polishing and bug fixing. It's about an orphan who must awaken the power of Crimson within him to save the world, with a nice variety of weapons from axes and claws, which do factor into semi-Metroidvania style exploration. Although this new trailer does show off a world map, so it's the classic action platformer setup. Your wolf-dog companion is key as well, being both adorable and useful in certain levels, and add to that the great pixel art, and of course I'm sold. I really hope that 2021 will finally be the year so that we can all get hands-on to check this out. The next entry gets on due to how much of a curiosity this is, since Radio the Universe was kickstarted 8 years ago and is one of those fabled indie games if you're in the know. It's a cyberpunk action-adventure game with some excellent pixel art looking a little similar to the recently released Tower, but this world does look absolutely haunting, perhaps a little bit of a Dark Souls vibe, and interestingly enough, has platforming elements as well. You appear to have both melee and ranged weapon options, but as a fan of this genre, I cannot say no. It does have a winter release window, which according to the developer's Kickstarter page, begins in December, so we should see this out by February at the latest, but since it's one of those white whales, it certainly has my attention. Now these top 3 are very me titles, so evidently Gestalt Steam and Cinder makes the cut. It's a steampunk pixel art Metroidvania where you're exploring the last bastion of mankind ruled with an iron grip by the corrupt overseers, so it is up to our heroine to expose these dark secrets. The pixel artist associated with this project is well known in the community, having done the art for Tower 57 as well, and releasing a whole bunch of pixel art tutorials, so to see this in motion in a fully fledged game in my favourite genre is a real treat. It falls more on the Symphony of the Night end of things, with RPG elements and even stat allocations into strength, luck and so on, though it remains to be seen if there are weapon options, but I'm already sold based on how good this looks.
In the howling darkness of the end, men will become monsters. But hope will ride with those courageous enough to carry the flame.
While the announcement of Darkest Dungeon 2's Epic Store exclusivity may not have thrilled some people, I am nonetheless still looking forward to it, since I want to see what Red Hook has done differently, and what mechanics and characters make a comeback from the first game. While it does look different with a pseudo 3D look, in interviews, the developers have stated that it remains true to its core with the side-on turn-based positional combat. The first teaser trailer, titled The Howling End, teased a snowy, mountainous setting, while the latest trailer, Glimmer of Hope, does not show it at all, so a good job from the developer for making me intrigued. Sure, this model may not be for everyone, but if it's anything like the first, or even following in the EGS path laid out by Hades, it might be Game of the Year contender in perhaps 2022. And of course, the dark gothic pixel art title The Last Faith makes the list. Reductively, this is Blasphemous meets Bloodborne, using the same sorts of high-bit pixel art, but trading in the Spanish and Catholic religious vibes with something more classically gothic. Obviously, this is very Castlevania-like in nature, with a variety of weapons to choose from, elemental buffs, magic attacks and so on, but I do think that it's trying to do its own thing separate from Symphony of the Night. The adventure takes place in a fallen capital city, once again the center of a powerful empire with an ancient religion at its core, now desolated and haunted with mutant creatures, and is the exact same sort of setting as Bloodborne, which has got me intrigued. Needless to say, the theme, art style and genre is my perfect combination, so it takes the number 1 spot. We cannot close off without talking about the elephant in the room, Hollow Knight Silksong, which, as of recording, still has no release date, although that may change in the December 31st edition of Edge magazine, where there is a feature article on it, but I do think that it's super weird that this game of all games have got people interested in a print gaming magazine once again. If this game really does make 2021, I guess that might just make up for all the horribleness of this year, so fingers crossed that it does, and if you do have any other games that you're looking forward to, do leave it in the comments below. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos, and I will see you after the jump.